fanboys will look at this picture and say, Tom wasn't losing. It was a competitive 50-50 pick'em round. Don't be a fanboy. Throughout my lifetime as a fan in this sport, dating back since 2009, I've never really been a fanboy. I've always been sort of objective about things. And, like I was a George St. Pierre guy, right? I kind of was like, yeah, George is a little boring. Like, I'll give you that. Okay, I'm not going to fight and die on it. No, he's not boring. You must love the chess match. Like, no, bro. Like, all right. I do have more fun watching Anderson Silva fights and those finishes, you know what I mean? But I like George. I like what he stands for, what he represents, martial arts, good, righteousness. George St. Pierre, when he was fighting in MMA, 100%. He stood for peak performance. He stood for consistency. He stood for something. And that's why you latch on and you become a fan of a fighter. Conor McGregor stood for self-belief. And Tom Aspinall stood for some other things. In my opinion, he didn't stand for nothing. People were propping him up. Tom Aspinall is a victim of the hype machine, essentially. He's kind of like a Tommy Gunn, okay? If you know boxing. Tom Aspinall, he was getting beaten up. The game plan was not working. Surreal's was. And it was evident. And you all said, none of you said it was going to be a close fight. None of you said that Aspinall wasn't going to get the finish. You thought he was going to buzzsaw through him. Sub in the first round. Where was the grappling? And that leads me to my next point. Because of his feud with John Jones, because of your hatred for John Jones, he became the hope in your mind. He became the guy who's going to beat John. Oh my God, look what he just did to Sergey. Oh my God, he just knocked out Sergey Pavlovich. What could he do to John Jones? Like, guys, you think John Jones is going to bite down on his mouthpiece and go toe-to-toe with heavyweight Tom Aspinall? And who's going to back down first? You think that's how the fight's going to play out? Because it's not. That's how it played out with Sergey, because that's what Sergey wanted to do. But John Jones has some of the highest fight IQ there is, and John Jones is going to study this guy. You don't think John Jones knew how to handle Tom Aspinall? Really? Based off of what? Based off of Tom Aspinall's performance against Volkov? Really? You don't think John Jones would take Volkov down and submit him in the first? Like, come on. You don't think John could do that? But look at what Surreal Gone did to Tom Aspinall that he couldn't do to John Jones. Didn't even come close to doing it to John Jones. As a matter of fact, just being in there with the one and only John Jones was so much pressure that the spotlight was so bright, it melted him. He wasn't able to overcome it. Old Conor McGregor used to have that against Eddie Alvarez. Crowd is totally on Conor's side. It's intimidating. There is something to aura. A lot of you guys like to make, he's talking about... It's real, guys. There is something to that. Mike Tyson, when he was coming up and people are afraid of him, why do you think they're afraid of him? Because of his aura. What is his aura? It's his perception. You understand? Subscribe for this shit, man. I'm giving this stuff to you guys, man. Subscribe for this, okay? Aura is perception. And the perception of Tom Aspinall from the fans, from the people propping him up, was that he was going to be Muhammad Ali. I mean, this is fucking Michael Bisping saying this, I respect Michael Bisping. I think Michael Bisping's one of the most absolute best stories in life. Never mind MMA, in life. This man, midway through his career, tragedy strikes. He gets head kicked by a known cheat, okay? As exciting as Vitor's fights was, as dynamic as his finishers was, by a known cheat, he gets head kicked. And we all think, oh, it's just a head kick. We see people get head kicked all the time. What we don't know is he now loses an eye, okay? Rather than be consumed like Tom Aspinall was at UFC 321. He got poked in the eye, and I can't see. Ah! And I get it. That's how I would react too. I would be like the Godfather in Godfather 3, ah! Like just screaming. That would be me. But I'm not the baddest man on the planet. I'm not UFC heavyweight champion. You get me? If you are at that level of combat, which is meant, it's literally combat, guys. Like it's not tennis. There are expectations of toughness, right? I would not expect you or I to be able to get eye poked like that and continue fighting. However, the top of the food chain, right, which Tom Aspinall is, the top elite level guys, absolutely I would expect that. Yuri Prochazka talks about it as well. You guys could look that up. Michael Bisping decides, rather than to be consumed, he decides that I'm not going to stop, I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to win a UFC middleweight championship. And he does. He actually does it. You know, it wasn't like, oh, Michael, and then like he does something and it's like, no, he loses his next 5 fights. No, bro, he actually does. He gets the fight with Anderson Silva, a guy who was on top at the time during his prime, all the stuff, right? A fight that if Michael Bisping ever did get the title shot, this was who he was fighting. He beats him in London after controversy. It was always something with Bisping, you know, it's always something. And then he finally gets the Luke Rockhold fight. It just falls into his lap, an opportunity. And this is life, guys. An opportunity falls into his lap. He takes it, runs with it, changes his story, becomes one of the most inspirational figures in life, never mind MMA and UFC. There were a lot of unknowns about Tom Aspinall going into this fight because he is like a Mike Tyson, like a Ronda Rousey, a dominant force that is just going to tidal wave over you and consume you. That's what he's been. He's been knocking out everybody, right? Surreal Gone showed that there's more to him when you start to peel back the layers. It turns out he can be bloodied. It turns out he don't got good head movement to avoid that jab. It turns out he's not really the best at cutting off the cage and, you know, cornering a guy that's actually trying to use footwork and move. It turns out, you know, he's got powerful kicks, but in terms of like IQ of like an actual kicking game, Surreal Gane's kicking game was far superior to Tom Aspinall's. And yeah, like where was the grappling too, guys? Like there was a lot we found out about Tom Aspinall. And we found out that he listens to that voice in his head that we all listen to, the doubt, right? The doubt, the insecurity. And that's normal, and that's human, and that's relatable. And that's why I feel like many people are defending Tom, including myself. Knee-jerk reaction, I made a video defending him, saying he didn't quit and stuff like that. But over time and reflection, it's kind of like, guys, you're the UFC heavyweight champion of the world. You know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to be extraordinarily tough. You're supposed to be... And I could say all this now because we know the extent of the injuries. There was nothing. He's fine. Thank God. But that's what I mean. Like, it was just... He didn't even try either. He just went with it so soon. He didn't even try to fight through it. It was just a complete... I'm pulling the plug on this thing. I'm crashing out over this eye poke right now. You know what I mean? And... that's pretty much it, man. He got exposed. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below, whether you agree or disagree. It doesn't matter. Join the discussion, subscribe for more, and leave a like if you enjoyed the time spent. Thank you. You are all appreciated.